Alrighty, welcome everybody into episode number 2, Motor City Realists. And before I say anything about this episode, I want to first apologize. The first episode that we did, for those that watched it live, thank you very much. But I failed to release it as a podcast like we said we would at the end of the episode. That is 100% on me. I was sick, as I mentioned during the show, and then my girlfriend got sick after that. She said I was the one that got her sick, but, that's allegedly. But appreciate everyone who checked out the live show. We promise this one will be up. So if you are listening to this one as a podcast and we mention a show before this and you're looking through your podcast, you can't find it. That's why I wanted to get that apology out there. That's all that needs to be said there. Moving on to episode 2. We are off a W. I am your co-host, Zach Mack, alongside Boss Man and the other co-host, Mike. Mike, how you doing today?
Good. We're coming off a W. We also got a reference. We're a night behind because Zach got stranded in the monsoon. We posted that on Twitter there, so no harm, no foul. I didn't expect you to run the half a mile to your car in that pour down rain, then set up the studio and everything. So, but excited to be back after a win we should have taken, a win that most would say same old Lions, but you can't say same old Lions because we won it.
That's right. Yeah. Speaking of that monsoon, we've got for those of you that don't live in Florida and don't care about this kind of stuff, there's a hurricane brewing off the east coast of Florida right now. I don't think it's going to come at us, but we might get some rain here and there. And I did do that half-mile walk after work one time, and in the pouring rain, and my shoes were ruined. I couldn't wear them for a week, so I didn't want to go through that again. So yeah, second apology. We weren't live last night for that reason. But yeah, coming off a win. We talked about this last week, how we both predicted a win. So it was nice that we got the win. Otherwise, we would have been here eating our own words. But it was one that we expected to get in, and jumping out to the 22-0 lead, I think was satisfying, I would say.
I think, again, everything goes back to Hard Knocks, because Hard Knocks essentially set everything up, set the bar high for the Detroit Lions. They said, this team is great to follow. I mean, they got personalities, they got a lot going on. Everybody was buying into it. That's why I said pump the brakes. And the first half, you talk the national media was, even ESPN, that was one of my tweets that I was going to get out, was ESPN was saying, obviously going in the half, which they were, the Lions had total control, total dominating the first half. And I said, okay, let's get through the halftime and make adjustments. Let's see what happens. You can kind of say same old Lions coming out of half, but again, you can't say that because we finished the game. We'll get to that. But the national media was on the Detroit Lions Kool-Aid, on the train. That scares me to a certain extent, especially going in Minnesota next week.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we won. Usually, you see those games and what happened. The second half, obviously, we'll talk about, letting up that lead. Pretty much the Commanders going down scoring at will. But we closed it out. We finished it, so it's not the same old Lions.
That's right. And one of the first things I want to touch on is the fact that we talked about last week how Hutchinson was, held out of the box score, the stat sheet column a little bit. Yeah, stat column a little bit. And but we talked about how hard that Eagles offense is to contain. And here we go. We got Carson Wentz and the Commanders a little bit more of a pocket passer. And was that a rookie franchise record, 3 sacks and a half?
That and I think he tied like 3 other records as far as not 3 other records, another record based off of the first, something like that. Which and you and I were exchanging texts before the show. We'll get into these too. There's a lot of records being thrown around, a lot of firsts for the Detroit Lions this year, carrying over from last year. That really, I shouldn't say has me worried. I mean, you should be excited. We're talking. It kind of leads me to like, is there a letdown coming? But you also said, have we really sucked this bad that these records aren't even really that good? So we talked about St. Brown's. That's a great record, obviously. Regardless, the scoring was it 12 quarters or 16 or something like that.
15 quarters.
15,
right
15.
Now,
15. A lot going for us going into Minnesota. My concern is Kirk Cousins just laid an egg of a game. By no means is he ever a elite quarterback, but I feel like he's always slept on. And Justin Jefferson was shut down by Darius Slay, which is Matt Patricia send-off, that a fan favorite, obviously here for the Lions, which I think Darius Slay got NFC Player of the week too, based on that performance. But
I saw that.
So there's going to be a lot going on. But before we get into next week, obviously we want to touch on this week. Talked about Hutchinson. That's probably the biggest thing that stands out. My thing is you and I were talking about we were texting during the game. I was kind of giving you play by play before you actually found it. Hutchinson, great game. The motor kept running. My concern was hopefully he didn't pull a Martin Gramatica and get a little injury from celebrating a sack there, but it sounds like he's going to be okay. Campbell's usually kind of tight-lipped on things, but obviously, Hutchinson finished the game and everything like that. But overall, really excited about it. My take on the game was we definitely there's definitely a lot to build on it, definitely a lot to go from it. But I think the biggest thing is after halftime adjustments, we were out coached, which I can handle because we won it, because this coaching staff is so young. I know Dan Campbell's been in the league. He hasn't actually made the calls. He had a little time with the Miami Dolphins where he's the interim, but definitely got out coached after second half. Even though we still won, Commanders made way more adjustments than we did. But again, not same old Lions. So I'm really excited to Minnesota. But hey, Carson Wentz, he still finished the game with 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. But I think it I wouldn't say it was garbage time, but it was a lot of. That's essentially what it was. Is they were just airing it out. I think he was 30 for 46.
That's how Stafford got so many yards.
Well,
when you're down in the second half, you got to throw the ball.
Yeah, they didn't have a rusher that rushed over 30 yards. Antonio Gibson had a touchdown. They averaged 2 yards a game. But overall, I was pleasantly surprised. Yes, it was concerning based off the halftime, but we closed it out, and that's the difference between last year's team and this year's team. Building blocks, getting into Minnesota. Now we got Minnesota, and this could be one of the biggest games since like 2018 or something like this. How we played since we played Bengals or whatever. It's hard to believe, excuse me, for week 3, that's what we're looking at. But that's kind of how things are going. There's a lot of momentum. We've really got a lot of talent. Malcolm Rodriguez, I think, was the highest rated rookie again this week. He was also one of the highest rated linebackers in general. DeAndre Swift, we're talking, he's the 4th leading rusher right now, and he only played a portion of the game because he was nursing an ankle injury, which he said he feels a lot better this week.
He
ripped off a
leads the
long
league
run.
in yards per carry. He
Yes,
averages
yes,
10 yards a
yes.
carry. That's
The
crazy.
Lions, the Lions in general, yards per rush. Actually, it's funny because obviously everyone wants to go against what the Rams are doing. So the Rams are ranked 31st in rushing offense. The Lions right now are ranked number 1 in offense. So it's kind of funny based off of yards per carry.
So is Stafford bad for running backs? That's the question.
Well, I mean that offense. I mean for him, he's a gunslinger. So, but I think that you can't really can you really blame it on the offensive line because for years we were like our offensive line sucks. Well, we haven't had a starting offensive line for the first 2 games. It's been plug and play, and we've had some. Dan Skipper come in, and that's another thing is I want to talk about Dan Skipper a little bit. I don't know if you caught that flack on Twitter, about, the Lions rallying behind him, then Eric Armstead from the San Francisco 49ers saying, he's a racist, blah, blah, blah. I feel like that.
Oh, I didn't see that.
That seems to happen. But either way, the Lions are kind of plugging and playing players. We've had a really solid performance. Ragnow didn't play this past week. He played week 1. A lot of things I feel like, there's a lot of things going on. I was texting with my brother-in-law and he's like, when do you really got to look into the training staff? Like I feel like our players are getting banged up, nicked all the time. I said, well, it could go down all the way to your strength and conditioning staff. Like these guys are constantly banged up. I feel like we have these injuries, so we'll see what goes on. But overall, what was your take? Obviously, Hutchinson, that's the biggest thing that stood out. I think Goff, he had 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 256 yards. There were a lot of throws maybe that kind of concerned me. There was a lot of out routes that he didn't have enough zing on, but there was a lot of deep balls that I felt like, Shark dropped a potential touchdown. They said the defender could have tipped it. Either way, it hit Shark's arms. Really, what were your kind of takeaways from the game? We had an interception, Will Harris, which was kind of, whatever. I called him out last episode.
Yeah, I saw that.
But overall, my biggest thing is we closed out the game 36-27, going, have Minnesota. What was your takeaway? Defensively, offensively, Swift, what was your kind of takeaway from the game?
Yeah, I was extremely happy with the way the game started. And I talked about this a little bit with week 1 going down 21-7 in the game. It made you feel like we were already out of it. And what I wanted to see was the offense sharpen things up a little bit. There were so many miscommunications with Goff and the receivers in week 1. And for the large part, they cleaned that up for week 2. And I was happy to see that. It looks like they care. And I think the Lions are like smacking these teams in the face when they like. I think I don't have the source in front of me, so this is like not verbatim or anything, but I saw Jalen Hurts say after week 1, he was like, these are not the same Lions. Because I think they beat us by like over 30 points last year or something like that.
Yeah.
Like this, and obviously we come out and it's a 3-point game in week 1, and this was after our episode, but he said something to the tune of like, yeah, these are not the same Lions. And when we go up 22-0 against the Commanders, they're probably, they go to halftime, and like you said, they made more adjustments in the second half than we did. But that it's kind of understood that they're down, they have to make more adjustments. It's probably they're probably making adjustments left and right at halftime, whereas we're more of like, hey guys, just keep playing your game type of thing. But they were probably sitting there like, oh, this is not what we expected to get from the Detroit Lions. And for us to be now, I think we're the highest scoring offense so far. It's only been 2 weeks, but we're averaging.
Yeah, I was just say, especially in the division, you look at the Packers and everything. But yeah, I looked at it as well. So
it's like 30. Well, yeah, we're averaging. Well, we scored 35 and then 36, so we're at 35.5 points. Obviously, like you said, there's optimism. You're also wondering, like, oh, is this going to be a big letdown, or like, we could only come out and score 10 points against the Vikings or something like that. But I think there's a lot of room for optimism through 2 weeks. I think we played a good Eagles team close. We smacked the Commanders. Now we've got a division game to see what we're made of.
Yeah,
I'm a little worried. I will say this to end my synopsis or what I've seen through 2 weeks, I'm a little worried about Hawkinson and what the future holds with Hawkinson in Detroit.
I think it's still early, but I definitely said he had to have a game this week. But he was, again, very quiet. I mentioned first week he had some words with some players, kind of on the sidelines, no big deal. Hawkinson will be okay, but I figured, yes, this week he would definitely be there. He'd make a difference. Well, he really didn't. And actually, our receiving core, I mean, it was really, really spread out. So we didn't really rely on one person or another. But that is one of those things that, I week 2, it's okay. Week 3, week 4, that I'm really going to be concerned. But my thing is everybody's on this, trade synopsis. Can we get somebody? Can we get rid of Goff? Can we get somebody else? The Detroit Lions are bought in on Jared Goff. They're putting pieces around Jared Goff. He's one of the highest paid guys based off the Rams contract that we're bringing in. We're putting people around him. He can manage things. My thing is like I said, he threw a few out routes that he just didn't have any zing on. Those out routes can easily be picked in a professional setting like this, but they weren't. So that is my concern. But I feel like the throws downfield he was able to make, but the out routes is just what concerned me. But I feel overall he needs a few games. These games are perfect for him. He needed some confidence. He needed this confidence. That's his thing. He was a Super Bowl quarterback, for the longest time, and then he gets sent to the Detroit Lions. He needs confidence. He needs somewhere he can go, kind of start new. Perfect scenario. He's got a great aura with, persona with the players and everything like that. So I'm really looking forward to the next couple of games. I think he can get hot going. But yeah, I was really, offensively, I think that's very much shadowed by our defense because even though our defense has given up 30 points two games essentially in a row, close to, our offense has been lights out. Even though Goff hasn't played outstandanding, I wouldn't say yards or the be all tell all, but he didn't have 300 yards, but he had 4 touchdowns. So
yeah.
Outside
of the pick 6 that he threw in week 1, he hasn't made any huge mistakes, crazy. And he hasn't made like consistent mistakes, which is good.
And so I'm excited. People worry about that kind of stuff. No big deal. I'm looking forward to Minnesota. I think Dan Campbell's one of those guys where, hey, you just gotta, hey, that was a great win. We're excited about it, but it's done and over with. We gotta move forward at this point. So I think that's what we can kind of hone in on, kind of be excited about. Looking forward to Minnesota, but overall defense, exciting. We've got a lot of people banged up. We've got some defensive backs that'll be coming back soon. Obviously, we haven't had J-Mo yet. Williamson, we still got a couple games without him. So, but I do want to talk about St. Brown. St. Brown is one of those guys that nothing sexy about the pick. Nobody really batted an eye. Okay, no big deal. But, we're talking about there's real sports media people saying and I know, easy. But they're saying better than Calvin Johnson. I'm not saying statistically. I'm not saying the tangibles, the size, the speed, physically, stuff like that. Yeah. But I'm talking about the body of work right now. What this kid is doing, very much under the radar. And I think the only reason that he's finally getting some love is because of Hard Knocks, because of the national media. So, what's your take on this kid? And I don't know if you've paid attention. He knows every player, every wide receiver that was drafted before him, and he makes sure. He makes sure. There was actually one for the Commanders. He walked over on the sideline and was looking for the guy.
I was going to bring that up.
Yes, and he made a comment. I'll let you take it away. Go ahead.
No, yeah, he said. Well, pretty much it. He said he was looking for him. He said he didn't get on the field that much. I can't remember. His last name was Brown. I can't remember what his first name was, but he had no catches, no yards, no touchdowns, obviously, and St. Brown went for 9 catches, over 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude, he's got that dog in him. He is out.
That's there. What I like.
Yeah, he is out there to prove himself. He wants this team to win, and he wants to be the best in his draft class, despite where he was picked. I mean, that is crazy to me that he knows every receiver that was picked before him, what team they went to, and what number they were picked.
Absolutely.
Off the top of his head.
I dig it.
That means he studies that shit all the time. And they asked him. They said, did Minnesota pick any wide receivers before you? And he said, no, they didn't. But I know they had some picks in there.
I think it was either on Fox or NBC or something like that. But he had an interview and he rattled off every guy.
Yeah, he did it on Hard Knocks. Oh yeah,
yes.
he didn't watch.
It was on Hard.
Yeah, he did it on Hard Knocks.
Something like that. But yeah, I was just gonna say, like, you can't. I mean, whatever. I mean, I get it. So, but this season, I wouldn't say is exciting, but it's more exciting to know that we stuck them 22-0 going into half. That's exciting. Not the same on Lions as far as the way they finished. So really looking forward to that. But moving on, unless you got anything to touch on this previous game, moving on to Minnesota. What are your thoughts? I know we talked about what we predicted record. We didn't break down individual games, but what's your take on this, especially after the way Minnesota played this past week?
Yeah, I'm really torn on this because, I think, right off the bat, we played the Eagles better than Minnesota played the Eagles.
Yeah.
So that's a plus. The downside is that Kirk Cousins never plays well in primetime. So
yeah.
So that was never.
The good thing is we don't play primetime. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So the problem is the Vikings were never going to win that game, and like you just said, we don't play the Vikings in primetime. So we could get the gold version of Kirk Cousins, which would be a problem, especially with how many points our defense has been giving up lately. But I don't know. I have Dalvin Cook on my fantasy team too, and he did nothing for me last week.
I say he was shut down as well. Yeah, he was shut down.
So, so I think he's gonna be hungry. I think Kirk Cousins is gonna be hungry. Justin Jefferson's gonna be hungry, and it's gonna be a nice test. Honestly, I'm going back into this game like week 1. I had no expectations, right? And in week 2, I expected to win, and we got the win. I'm going back into this one with no expectations because, like I said, the Vikings are hungry. I think they're going to give us their best, and I'm honestly just curious to see how we respond, how we play, how Campbell gets these guys ready for a division game. I'm excited to see, are we going to step up to the challenge or are we going to lose 28-10? If I had to make a prediction, I'm going to say, because we're realists out here, I'm not going to pick a Lions win every weekend, right? I'm going to say that we get something like 24-23 Vikings. Maybe 24-21. I'll go 24-23. I think there's going to be some weird field goals in there.
I don't know. I feel like I feel like obviously we've been building. And you look at what Jalen Hurts did this weekend. The guy's no fluke. Everybody, I've even seen Philly fans say, I don't want Jalen Hurts ball. I said, all right, I'll take him.
Shout out Tom.
Yeah. Oh, God. Okay, I didn't know you followed that. But there are people that just literally could not deal with that.
I know, bro.
But I'll take him. But, hey, there's some building blocks. There's no reason we should not be able to shut down the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not saying shut down their offense or whatever because Justin Jefferson, he's going to get his. I think this week he's going to have a game. I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a game. But I think if we can utilize that and get everything around them, I still think Cousins will have a good game. But I think their defense isn't what it used to be. I totally forgot that why can't Patrick Peterson plays for them? Like, at this point they've got a bunch of washed corners, that are fluent, that they know the position, but really, am I going to be too concerned about mid-30 cornerbacks, based off of our young burners? Because that is one thing. We do have a lot of speed, so it'll be interesting to see. But I really think that they should be able to pull this off against Minnesota. I think, if we can continue on and get these guys healthy, it'll be interesting to see, come Friday, based off the final injury report and stuff like that. But our offensive line is held up. That's one thing. And I know I mentioned this, and I don't want to take away from going to Minnesota, but I do want to touch on this Dan Skipper thing. I know you said you didn't see it, but so basically, just the story is he's been in the league for I don't know how many years, but he was on the Patriots practice squad a couple years ago, so he got a Super Bowl on the practice squad, so he was a part of that. He's really never started. He's never made a start. He came out and said, I've signed 20 contracts before, and they're not worth the paper that they're. And basically what it is he's thankful the team rallied behind him. They really celebrated him. Well, they celebrated him, and Eric Armstead from San Francisco said, "Oh, you guys are celebrating a racist." Well, from what I hear, he took that tweet down. There's not been a lot elaborated on that. A lot of fans went after Armstead, pulled up a lot of racist tweets from years and years ago, how you can go down that road. But basically the thing that's going on right now, which I don't know where it's going to go, whatnot, Armstead said, basically that he was racist. He called everyone the N-word, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if they played together because basically this was Skipper's first start. He's never played against San Francisco either, so I don't know where it's coming from. That's where there's a lot of give and take. And I feel like, and I don't side with anybody because this goes back to the Deshaun Watson thing. Is it really like, you're innocent until proven guilty, or kind of one of those things? And this is a totally different situation because I'm not saying if he said these things, that should be swept under the rug, but it's kind of one of those things where until you know what goes on, whether they're going to investigate, I don't know how this stuff works, but it kind of was a kind of a dark cloud. I haven't heard a whole lot since then, but kind of an unfortunate event. But also, that is one of the statistics that I was talking about. Is the Lions continue to set these records? Is Skipper he's like either 6'8" or 6'9", and he played guard. I think that was like the tallest guard to ever play the position in the NFL. I could be wrong, but I think that was another one of those random statistics that obviously the Lions pulled out. But good for him, his play. I don't want to talk about what he did because I don't know if it's true or not. I don't condone that, but either way, but looking forward to Minnesota, hopefully getting that line solid, getting everybody back together. I know there's still a couple of injuries, but yeah, I think we win it. Swift is getting healthier. I know he didn't play a whole lot last week.
Yeah, I heard Dan say that he was healthier. He's healthier today than he was at this point last week, which is good.
Yeah, because he ripped off a big run, and I think obviously we got out big. So there's no real reason to essentially, pound him in the ground. Obviously now I think he's getting the Veterans Day off on Wednesday, even though he's not really a vet. But that's good management. But one thing I do want to mention, I don't know. I know you're on Twitter too, so I don't know if you saw this. Did you see? Dude, Dan Campbell, literally, if we were the laughingstock in the NFL and we really sucked, which we got a lot to do. A long ways to go, but this guy is like the all-American guy. Like, did you see what he said about the Monday night game? Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, pretty much saying like they asked him about it. He said, "Yeah, I was taking notes, but I drank too much. I pretty much fell out of my chair, and then I woke up in the morning and it didn't make any sense. And then today he popped some aspirin. Pretty much a 2-day hangover. But I mean, really, based off of everything we've gone through, franchise wise, we've had some decent head coaches, don't get me wrong, but we've also had some really, really poor ones. Ownership has always been in question, but how is Dan Campbell not a guy that you can like? But I feel like also on the flip side, the media can really shred him if you're horrible. So where do you love everything he says? Do you kind of cringe, or do you just like, what, just let it ride?
I like some of the things he says. He gets emotional quite a bit.
He does. I do see him cry.
Yeah. So you can tell he loves the game. He loves the team. He loves the players. That's everything you want in a coach. So, it doesn't, I don't hate it, but I also I don't feed into that stuff too much. And kind of like you said, my brother said this too with the Dan Campbell Monday Night Football quote. I just hope this isn't something that comes back and bites him in the future. If he's, if it comes out where like the Lions are understudied on a game or something, and then they're going to use this quote. Yeah, obviously, nobody's ever going to take the quote seriously, but
so giving you some ammo.
Yeah, they'll throw it under his picture as a caption and hold it against him. So I just hope that's not the case. But I think like he's got some good one-liners. He's got some good catchphrases in his press conferences. I like that he's not like always trying to be funny. He seems to be just kind of naturally funny at times. But obviously none of that matters when it comes down to coaching a football team. But what it does seem like he's good at is relating to players and to different people, and he'll relate to different reporters who are asking him questions even. So I think he's got that like just that soft skill of being able to relate to people that I don't think coaches in the past like Matt Patricia ever had,
Absolutely. So no, I agree. But but anyways, like we are Motor City Realists, MCR, better known as. We talk about a lot of things, Detroit in general. Obviously,
so you're calling a win this weekend?
Yes. Well, you cut me off. Jesus.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought you were trying to move on from the Lions because of.
I was. Yes. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I just wanted to say. If you're calling a win, I think I'm going to say if Hawkinson scores a touchdown, then the Lions win. But if he doesn't, they don't win.
That's the beauty of the show. Zach and I. That's what I was texting him, and we always talk about texting, but like, this is not your like statistic. We're not your analogies. We're just some fans that have lived and died it. Or I guess lived and breathed it. Essentially, we've gone through it, the ups and downs. Maybe we haven't been around as long as everybody, but we're not here to say, "Hey, we need to do this, we need to do that." But we're just kind of taking it in stride. So when we interrupt each other and give each other shit, that's all natural, man. That's what we want. We're not. We're not. I mean, I'm transitioning to the next team. There's not a lot in Detroit outside of it. It's hard to believe that the Detroit Lions and maybe the Pistons right now are kind of the exciting things. We'll talk about the Red Wings. They got a really promising roster, but never would we have thought. Obviously, in football season, there's a lot of promise there. But Zach, anything you wanna say before we move on from the Lions?
No, unless we're gonna do this tweet segment at the end.
Yeah, we'll just do that at the end because that's just kind of overall. So
yeah, let's
basically,
right on.
Obviously, we're going to get into the next biggest thing, which is probably the biggest news, obviously, for Detroit is Tigers blasphemy. Nobody expected it, but we're officially eliminated from the playoffs. You can check our Twitter there, big thing. But obviously, in light of that, we hired our new, I guess it's not your general manager, your kind of PBO. Is that what it's considered, or what is it?
Yeah, what is it, like president of baseball operations.
Baseball operations.
They make up jobs in that sport, bro.
So basically, he can be the GM, but he's like one step higher than the GM, so he can hire somebody and then trump them. So Scott Harris, really, I've seen some conflicting things on social media. Obviously, if you're a San Francisco Giants fan, they said good for you. We hated him, which whatever. I've seen a lot of Tigers fans excited. I feel like as of right now, I mean, in his press conferences, he's pretty much the thing I like about this is Ilitch is saying, I can't do this. I need to figure something out. So I'm giving it to you. But the beautiful thing about it is Stevie Y sat in on this and he doesn't need to know the sport. He doesn't need to know what's going on, but he needs to know the analytics, the people. And what Stevie is doing with the Red Wings, I'm not saying it's necessarily going to translate into baseball, but what are your thoughts on that? On him just, I mean, for them reaching out to him and just saying, hey, what do you say? You want to sit in on this?
Yeah, so he's at this point. I'm thinking like Steve Yzerman. I already thought that he was important to the city of Detroit, but he's obviously just like massively important to the city. Yeah. If you've got other sports reaching out, and it's. I was just talking about Dan Campbell being a relatable person, and this guy they just hired for the Red Wings, the new head coach, Derek Lalonde from Tampa. Also, they're getting remarks about him just being such a relatable guy. He can relate to players and stuff like that. So it seems like Stevie has got this, it's almost like this it factor where he knows, like you said, he doesn't have to know the sport of baseball. He just has to know the kind of person that you need to have a winning culture, in the front office or whatever. And so for him to be a part of that, I think was cool to see. We'll see how it pans out.
And I feel like his entire career, although a great career, it wasn't flashy. There was nothing flashy about it. And the same thing about what he does now. He's not outspoken. He's not over the edge. I mean, he's just sits back, and when he's asked, he's there, and he's rendered results. So I mean, to transition this to baseball, we need it. You're talking the end of the seventh right now against the Baltimore Orioles, and we're down 5-1. Obviously, at this point, the season's a wash. We're going to play any prospects, see what we can have.
Yeah.
But I mean, Stevie, I think that, like you said, that bodes well. That says a lot. I think there's a lot of things going because everyone says, Detroit's so blue collar. So you got guys like Dan Campbell. You got guys like the new Wings head coach. You got Stevie Y. You don't got these flashy Matt Patricias, and I wouldn't say Patricia was flashy, but I felt like he came in with such an arrogance. I'm from the New England Patriots, and like nobody gives a shit, man. Like nobody bought into that it was just toxic. So I'm really looking forward to that. Scott Harris, I don't know a lot about him outside of what I've read, what everybody's kind of read. Just a new, I guess, kind of cleaning of the slate. But I'm excited. Illich is pretty much saying, I can't do this myself. Harris also said, we're willing to make some moves, maybe some calculated risks to kind of widen that, or kind of bridge that gap because they know we are so far off from the rest of the division, the rest of the league. So that's what I like to see. It'll be interesting to see, what goes forward with Miggy, with Baez. I'm not saying any of these guys are going to go anywhere, but how this works. I'm not saying that they're going to open up the wallet, but you're going to have to spend a little money. I feel like the baseball salary cap, whatever you want to call it, is just so outlandish that, we've seen it back in the Dabrowski days. We spent. We won. We didn't win the ship, but we also didn't have a minor league system. Now we have a minor league system, but our main team sucks so bad that we've brought all these minor league guys up. So our minor league system kind of sucks again. So it's kind of like, catch-22. But overall, looking forward to, even though the season isn't over, next year, looking forward to the Pistons, a young team. But I want to hear a little bit, obviously, you being in Tampa, obviously you followed them. You're a Wings guy. What is your? I know I kind of asked you this kind of last week as well, but what's your anticipation for the Wings? What do they just have the prospect or what did they just have?
They had I can't. For some reason, I think on Twitter they were calling it a prospect tournament. I don't think it was like actually a tournament format. I think they just had like 3 games, and they were playing up in Traverse City, Michigan. And they beat the Blue Jackets. Then they lost to the Stars like 5-4, and then they beat the Maple Leafs 4-1 or something like that. But they got two wins and a loss, and I think it was good. It was good to see like how our prospects stack up against other prospects.
Yeah,
and I think there was a couple performances that, because training camp starts as we record here on Wednesday. Training camp I think officially starts tomorrow on Thursday. They had media day today where they shoot all those videos, when they show them pregame and they're behind a green screen or whatever, or in front of a green screen. Yeah, so they were doing all that today. But yeah, they got a couple of invites to training camp. So I think there's a couple guys. Simone Edvinson is, if you guys are Red Wings fans, big Red Wings fans, that's gonna be a name you're gonna want to be on top of. He's a defenseman coming in, and Stevie said today that he thinks he's got a shot at being an important role in the season. He doesn't know if he'll start day one, but I personally, this is Zach's take, I think Edvinson will be in the running for Rookie of the Year.
Really?
I think he's gonna be I think, bro. There's a lot of bones in my body that want to say he's gonna be better than Moritz Seider. I don't want to regret saying that, because Seider's come out and been so strong in his rookie year. But Edvinson's going to be that kind of player. Just wait till like, if you guys, I know a lot of people don't follow minor league hockey and guys when they're in the juniors. So you're going to see this guy and you're going to go, wow, this is what we have in the pipeline. Another guy, Elmer Soderblom. I don't know if I said that right. He's Swedish, I think. Monster forward. He's going to look like a giant out there. Shades of Tomas Holmstrom, maybe. But it's gonna be super exciting. All these young guys that we got coming up. I can't wait to see
Nice.
how we play this year.
Nice.
And it's funny you said like Stevie is modest. He's quiet, and he was kind of like that in media day today. He was like, "Yeah, we should be a better team. We'll probably be a better team this year than we were last year."
No, no shit.
yeah. I'm like, I think y'all are gonna be, we're gonna be way better.
So, but yeah, that's exciting. I mean, your thoughts on you kind of touched quickly on it, but thoughts on the head coach?
Yeah, I mean, he comes from the Lightning, so they had back-to-back championships before they lost this past year in Colorado. I know, don't want to fall into that trap too much because we've talked enough about Matt Patricia and how he came from rings and he didn't do anything. So we'll see. I mean, sounds like he's got the intangibles that you want. He's got, Steve Yzerman's vote of approval. So we'll see how he does behind the bench. Yeah. He looks like, though, have you seen him? He looks like the Penguin from Batman.
Oh,
bro,
Jesus.
Just wait. You're gonna see him. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh when you see him. First day on the bench, you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, that's Penguin."
I just look back on that movie when he took a bite of that fish, and I'm just like, so. But anyway, so we pretty much touched on everything. We're looking forward to Minnesota. We talked on that. We haven't talked a whole lot about the Pistons. Still a lot going on. They're getting closer. The Wings are getting closer. Obviously, we talked on the finishing the season with the Tigers, but we do want to get into our segment. A segment we still haven't named yet. We got to figure out our name, but I almost feel like there's some kind of overreaction tweet or something like that. But every week.
Hey, if you're listening on the podcast, tweet us at Motor City Real and give us a name suggestion.
Yes, if you wanna here, if you send us a name and we use it, we'll give you some kind of prize. It's not going to be something stupid. We'll get you something good. So, but basically, last week was real easy. Same old Lions kind of thing, and I was just like, whatever. So this week it was really hard. I was telling Zach, it's like, oh man, we were up 22-0 at halftime. I'm like, this is gonna be hard. Not many people are gonna be coming out, saying, well, okay, after the first drive, I think this tweet was like, I even made sure it was time stamped. I think it was like 3:33 or something like that. But I think either the first or second Commanders drive, Lions lost. There it is. Yep. Bay Conch or something like that, Detroit Bay. But that's the tweet right there. No more than Commanders went down and ripped off a few touchdowns. Lions lost. That's what it was. And I did see a total panic in Lions Twitter.
Yeah.
Once that started happening, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I get it. I totally get it. But I've said it 100 times the show. It's not the same old Lions. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid, but it's not the same old Lions. We closed out that game. So there's our tweet of the week. Like Zach said, reach out to us, shoot us a message. We want to name this segment. We'll get some sponsorships behind it, obviously, and stuff like that. But as we continue to grow on, this is fun for us. We're not taking shots. I mean, don't take it personal, but we're having fun with this because we're kind of. I feel like I'm very optimistic. I don't know how you are, Zach, but I'm always the glass is always half full as opposed to half empty. That's how I look at life.
Yeah, I haven't been lately as far as the Lions, but I'm getting there. And yeah, like Mike said, at Bay. I think you say that Coke or Cook.
Coke,
yeah, I don't know. If you're listening, no hard feelings. We just want to let you know the Lions did not lose. Oh. They won. These aren't the same Lions. And also, before we take the screen away, I want to show you Derek Lalonde. Look at that.
Oh, that's yes. He does. Look at it. I feel like he's have like sharpened teeth or something like that. So. Yeah. Jeez, oh peace. But anyways, no, overall, we appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Zach and I usually try to keep it under an hour, just kind of go through our segments and stuff like that. But we got a lot on the docket. Looking forward to next week. Hopefully we have another W next week. We want to also, feel free if you guys want to reach out to us. Obviously, we're partnering with Belly Up Sports, Belly Up Media Network. Obviously, that is the company that I started. Zach's been along with us for a long time, but we want to get some, whether you're a fan that we played or a fan that we're going to play, we would like to have some guests, people jump on, kind of talk about the game, just little segments here and there, just kind of add a little different angle to things. We like Zach and I said, we want to give you guys kind of a fan perspective. We're not trying to break it down, analyze it. We're just kind of giving you some Joe Schmo beer talk. So we'd love to get you guys on. But Zach, before we head out, anything you want to touch on?
Yep. Just want to emphasize that we're playing for a first place spot in the division this weekend. So
yeah, big.
Yeah, I know you predicted a win. I predicted a short or a close loss. So we'll see how it goes. We're playing for first place though, and hopefully when we're right here next week, we are talking as first place Lions. That would be sweet.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Hey, and then we'll just ride the wave from there. We'll see.
Right.
The old Aaron Rodgers, we'll see where that happens. But either way, week 2 in the books. We're excited to have you guys on board. I'll look forward to next week, and we will talk after the Minnesota game on Tuesday.
Sounds good. We'll catch you guys on the flip.
See you guys.